I'm here at the City of Shelton in the City Hall with City Manager Mark Ziegler. How are you, sir?
Good.
This is kind of a cool thing we're talking about. It's been a lot of work put on by not only the council members, but the staff here at the city, yourself included, on some ways that you are working towards the future of Shelton. And it's time now for some public input.
Yeah, exactly right.
So you have had a couple of retreats with a group called Creative Strategy Solutions back in February and March, and it kind of helped you and the council members think about what they would like to see Shelton become in the next 3 to 5 years, the type of planning, the type of work needed, and then you've been sitting around kind of coalescing all these pieces of information and getting ready to share with the public so they can kind of add their 2 cents to find out what's going on as well.
That's exactly where we're at today.
Yeah. I like it. It's very cool. It's a strategic plan, and cities and districts and ports and all organizations and entities go through these types of things. And what's cool about a city process of this is that it's real collaborative with the citizens here once we get to the point where we're at. So talk to me a little bit about some of the things over these last 2 sessions the council have agreed on, kind of a framework of the city moving forward.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we developed kind of this focus question. Where are we going to direct our efforts in that 3 to 5 year time frame, right? And so we know we're going to have growth.
Oh, yes.
We know we're going to see growth. It's at our doorstep now. They're clearing properties. They're putting in public infrastructure. So how do we meet the needs of those people that are coming here? How do we meet the needs of our existing community, right? The people that are living here, the people that are growing up here, the people that might be staying or coming back, and preserving some of that natural character, that unique character that we have in Shelton. And everybody agreed upon that. That was universally, that's what the council wanted to focus on. So boiling it down from there, we started out with the traditional SWOT, right? Our strengths, our opportunities, the weaknesses, and the threats that we are facing here in Shelton, to try to boil this down into these strategic initiatives that we can collectively, as a community, not just the city, but as a community, collectively, we can focus our efforts into meeting that focus question.
I think what I like about this, just to begin, is that a lot of folks kind of wonder the slow process of government and do things, when do things get done? And these types of plans are not only important to have for compliance and things like that, but these are long-term goals. You can't just pick up and start digging and moving and this and that without kind of really understanding what the city is going to look like in the next 3 to 5 years. We're seeing up there by Olympic College, at least, in kind of this first phase, a couple 400 new homes potentially coming through there with Peacock Ridge, and then more and more growth that comes from all that. And so you can't be, as a council, flat-footed when it comes to making these decisions. So what's great too is that everybody's got such a different background.
Yeah.
You've got civic leaders and business leaders and people on the council that all have a different viewpoint. And these kind of 5 tenets really help towards getting the city kind of in an overarching way. So what were some of the main things that you heard as we go through this kind of SWOT analysis to then present to the citizens? Like, what I see some past accomplishments. We've got the wastewater treatment plant and the big awards there, the art district, things like that. And then, of course, there's also some setbacks. So how do you kind of balance all that stuff?
Well, that's actually, the reason why we're doing this, because it's a balance. We have to look at our opportunities. We have to look at those obstacles or those threats that are in our way and see how we can move through those obstacles, how we can implement that. So everything that we do moving forward, once this strategic plan is adopted, will reference these strategic initiatives informed by the strengths and weaknesses and the threats that we may have. So some of the strengths we have are, some of the infrastructure we have is fairly new. It's fairly robust. It can handle the development, particularly on the wastewater treatment plant side of things. On the water side, we've got production. We just don't have storage. So that could be an opportunity or a threat that might inhibit some of that growth. We need to expand upon some other utilities and facilities that may promote particularly on the transportation side of things, some commercial development on the northwest side of the city. So looking at how we can work with Washington State, WashDOT, our legislative partners, the federal government, to help bring some additional funds in that might promote some of those strategic investments. You'll see this diversify some of the revenue sources the city has, so we can put that into investments that make this a more livable community.
I like the strengths that are listed here. It really, to me, shows a lot of what people love about Shelton proper and the kind of communal nature of the city and how people do help out when they can. And looking at these weaknesses, there are some here, some are out of your control when it comes to different things coming from the state, county, and things like that. But a lot of these, I think, with a robust public input and a engaged council, a lot of these are potentially easily fixed over the next couple of years.
We can address these. If we have a strategic plan, right, and we have some implementable goals that we can meet to address those, absolutely.
So how do you get from this sort of planning stage, because we have also, I remember over the years, different plans have come through, not just the city, but the county and the state, and then they kind of just sit on the shelf and nothing really happens to them. And then people go, well, see, that's what... How do we make sure that the momentum continues, and in 5 years, there's a lot more strengths, the opportunities are there, and kind of some of the weaknesses have been taken care of?
Yeah, first of all, it's setting that implementation plan, right? It's looking at these strategic initiatives. We work to implement these strategic initiatives in everything that we do. And then we have KPIs, we have check-ins, right? We have performance measures. And that's my responsibility as a city manager to make sure that we as an organization, as a community, are checking off those boxes to implement the work that we're doing on a regular basis to meet those strategic initiatives. It's that simple. It's from our budget implementation to what might be a downtown visioning plan. It might be a parks planning effort. It might be a trail design, or it's actual going out and seeking funding for our next water reservoir. Those are going to be the implementable, right, measures that we put forth to meet these strategic initiatives.
I like to, as kind of, a lot of this is really putting a mirror up to what's going on, and not necessarily, and I'm sure, at times conversations were passionate, but it seems to me like a lot of this is great for looking inward as a city and recognizing, we do have some deficiencies here, but we're on a good path. We have the potential to be on a really good path. So how does the public get involved? You've had great public input on different projects here locally. So where are we at with that?
So our next step is to conduct an open house on June 23rd here in the Civic Center from 5 to 7 p.m. And this will be set up unlike a forum, but more like an open house where we've got our 5 draft strategic initiatives, and we'll set up 5 stations, and the public can come by anytime during that time frame between 5 and 7 and discuss with staff what these strategic initiatives mean to the council, how we arrived at these strategic initiatives. We'll have some focus questions that is going to help us garner some feedback based on these initiatives, and also some implementation strategies that the public would like to see us implement in order to meet these initiatives. That'll better inform us for a full day session the next day, where as staff, we can start putting together that implementation plan that we can come back to council at a later date at a council meeting for full adoption and action.
Where after this has been adopted, do you then push it out to your other departments? There's a lot in here about parks and trails, things like that. Water, of course, public works in that department. So once this is finalized, the department heads then go, okay, now we know what we need to start working on for the next couple of years.
Essentially, yeah. Okay. And they're all engaged now. So we're into our second police chief through this process. So at that point, Captain Pat, now Chief Patton has been involved. We've had our community development department, our public works department, human resources. Every department's been involved in these retreats and these processes, certainly finance. So they have a good idea of the discussions that the council has brought to the table, how we've interacted with each other and brought ideas together at the table. So they've got that background already. This isn't done in a vacuum by any means, and we can bring that forward once the council adopts it. They'll have some clear direction, and we'll be able to prioritize with council, because obviously you're not going to get everything done at the same time.
Sure.
But we can prioritize with our council what direction we're going to go at the right time when the resources are available.
I was just talking about this to somebody else the other day, but that Como report that came out calling Shelton, it's a micro community or something that's on the rise and things like that. When you hear about that and you see kind of, again, the trend of people moving south and around from both sides of Seattle down, and kind of they'll end up here in Mason County, and looking at how you want to balance the needs of the older generations that have lived here for 100 years. They have streets with their names on them and things like that, versus the amount of new families with the potential of some of these new developments. How was the council able to talk through keeping Shelton, Christmastown, USA, kind of that kind of thing, versus having a new, vibrant community? I'm thinking the Arts District is a new kind of a thing that's going on. How did you hear them talk through that?
I think the council as a whole sees that as opportunity. We have growth means new populations, people coming in that have expectations on what a community should provide to them, what expectations, the services that are there, not only by their local government, by the business community, and hopefully a more interactive and robust, engaged community that are seeking some of those services that they may have seen in other communities, or that they're engaging to create some of those services and opportunities here in Shelton. And I think there's a little bit of, I don't know what you'd call it, but I have that too, because I grew up here, and you're losing the small town feel a little bit, or the fear of losing a little bit of that small town feel. But within the strategic plan, we're hoping that we can create some initiatives that maintain that feel, if you will, but still meet the needs of that growing population, that growing community at the same time.
Well, I think you can grow a community and keep some of the things that kept it great. I'm thinking the walkability, the parks, just the way people interact with each other. Those types of things aren't necessarily impacted by large growth. That's more of a culture thing that we have here in Shelton. So it's very cool. So as I look ahead too, there's always conversations about, and this may not be the time for this, but I see the pictures and I see the outline of the city of Shelton as it is now, right? So if you're gaming it out 3 to 5 years, what's the potential for those city boundaries to be expanded? And are you looking for the input from those folks too?
Certainly. I think our constituency is comprised of more than just city residents.
Right.
I think particularly as
business
you look,
owners, things like that.
And as you look at the 98584 zip code, that encompasses much more than the city limits. We're a center of commerce. We're the county seat. We're the only incorporated city in Mason County, so there's certainly the constituency is broader than just city residents. So we want to hear from those individuals too, and those groups and those families that want to participate in this process to make Shelton a more livable community and be a center of commerce, be a center of arts and culture and community programming and everything that goes along with a thriving, livable, livable community.
Unregulated growth can be a scary thing, undoubtedly, but when you have a plan that matches that growth and you kind of are aware and know it's coming, it seems a little bit more manageable.
Certainly, and we've done a tremendous amount of work in developing standards that maintain that, or that growth and that development is more of what this community would expect.
Sure.
You know, it's got the infrastructure in place. It's got walkability. It's got neighborhood parks. It's got open space. So you're not losing that, although the lots are smaller, right? But we now have park standards within these subdivisions. So
Right.
the 200 lot subdivision has some public amenities within them rather than that being imposed upon the existing residency, the existing community, that those are being imposed upon the developer at that point to help create these livable neighborhoods, not just this livable community as a whole. So those are really some of the strategies we've already put in place and that we need to look at more so with community facilities like the former Simpson Railroad.
Yeah.
You know, developing that into a crosstown trail, multimodal trail that serves more than just these neighborhoods, but are community facilities. So water access, ball fields, dog parks, expanding Neyland Park and replacing that play structure, things like that, you know, that mean a lot. But also, how are people going to navigate Railroad Avenue and Coda Street when it gets busier, right? How are we going to continue providing adequate water supply for fire flow and fire prevention? How do we maintain a police department and a municipal court department with a growing population? Those are all these layers of livable community that we have to put together to build kind of the perfect sandwich.
If you are thinking of, and I'm sure they want you to be living here over the next 3 to 5 years, so make plans to come. I'll put the save the date in the show notes on this one, but a good opportunity to let your voice be heard to the council on these 5 kind of tenets of where they're looking at the city's strategic plan over the next couple of years. It's a great time to get involved in your community and can really make a good opportunity to shape it into what you see as the future of what's already a great community and maybe just a little bigger in the next couple of years.
Yeah, exactly right.
Good to
With
see
more
you.
amenities and more opportunities.
Oh yeah, of course,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Thank you for this.
I appreciate it.